Okay, we are live. I'm going to start this. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another weekly edition of Security hosted on the N30 Podcast Network. We have lots of updates, or lack thereof, and Tom's going to explain to us what Google did very recently, or is in the process of doing, or is going to put out, or something. That's why we have Tom, so he's going to explain this to us.
Hey everyone. Oh, I don't know if we've got, except for this Google thing, any real big news. We had, our big spiel about truecrypt. So far, we have no answers whatsoever. Lots of people have made mirrors. Lots of people have, talked it over incessantly, but it's all talk. No one has any real answers into what happened or any real, you know, good speculation besides what everyone else has already covered. So, I don't think anyone got hacked this week.
No, it doesn't look like it. I mean,
It's kind of rare.
LastPass was, I think they're writing an article about LastPass in Consumer Reports.
Oh, really? That's
I,
nice.
I saw that somewhere across the wire in the last week. So hopefully hopefully password managers come to the forefront as soon as the FIDO Alliance kills all passwords.
Right. Now,
So,
one cool thing for all of our iPhone users and iPad users, Apple just had their developer conference, WWDC, in which they announced custom keyboard support, which sounds pretty boring if you come from Android land. It's like, yeah, you can use swipe or install different keyboards, big deal. It's actually a huge deal in the terms of LastPass. LastPass would now be able to actually type in passwords on web pages in apps, just like it does on Android today. So hopefully, pretty soon in iOS 8, we might see LastPass get to the same level of awesomeness that it's at on Android right now.
I heard something at WWDC, and I can't verify it, that something about they got rid of sandboxing, and I think that's on the operating system side. So the story goes, and if I'm right, the story goes, if you want an app in the Mac App Store, not the iPhone App Store, you had a sandbox, and one of the not the default setting, but one of the settings was only allow Mac App Store apps, which is fine for 90% of the people. But if you're doing something that requires an app to go out, like recording this podcast, think about how hard it is to record, let's say, a Skype conversation or a Google Hangout conversation with a sandboxed app. It can't leave. It can't record your microphone and Tom's microphone. It can only do one at a time. And that was the problem. So a lot of apps were complaining about this to the point that they just get rid of it. But I heard at either 10.9 or 10.10, they're getting rid of sandboxes, but I'm not going to even include a thing in the show notes because I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, it would have pretty big implications if they totally got rid of it. Now, if they made an addition where you had like application groups and certain applications would work with each other if the developers wanted them to, sort of like a sandbox whitelist, I could see that being used for good.
Or permissions. I mean, not that we want any more permissions, but to say this app needs to talk to these other apps. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. So I guess we should probably jump right into it.
Sure.
Google has, and people swore up and down that Google was never going to do this. If you don't know how Gmail works and why Gmail is a success to Google and why Google could never really get rid of Gmail without significantly changing their business model, Gmail makes them money. And you're thinking, oh, how? I just send emails and read emails and I get spam. And how does that make Google any money at all? I don't pay for Gmail. Actually, you see advertising. If you don't have ad block installed, you've got, ads at the top of Gmail, you've got some sidebar ads, and they're not in your face. But what Google does is they've got the Google spiders looking for keywords and such in your email. So if somebody's talking about, oh man, I just got this great new server from this great computer manufacturer, it's really fast, and check it out, it's this price. A competing advertiser could pay Google to search for those words in an email and offer up competing ads over to the side. And you look and you're just like, huh, I could go to competing computer company 1 or competing computer company 2 over there on the sidebar. It's a way to serve you ads. They don't read your email. It's not dudes sitting back there reading your email going, oh, wow, I hope his grandmother gets better. It's really terrible she's sick. It's just robots looking for keywords and offering you up some nice suggested stores to head to. So end-to-end encryption. We've talked about PGP before. We've talked about how it basically turns your messages into mush, and no one except you, the sender, and the other person on the other side, the recipient, can read the email. Not even Google. Not your mail company, not your ISP, not the NSA, no one in the middle, just you and the people you're sending it to. That's
hold
it.
on. Well, the contents of the email they can't read. They just see a jumbled mess.
Yes.
But what about the to and the subject?
They can see who it's coming from, who it's going to, and the subject line.
The what we call the metadata, as we call it.
Yes.
They can see that, and maybe they can stick an ad or two based on some subject, so you leave it blank.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they know what you were reading before, so they try and throw an advertisement there. But they don't have the contents of the email. They can't read, and therefore can't give you anything targeted.
Right. So this led people to believe that Google would never, ever sponsor any type of end-to-end encryption because essentially it would destroy that revenue model. It would totally break Google's ability to scan the body of your email to sell ads against. And if they can't scan the body of the email, advertisers aren't going to pay as much for ads. They're going to say, yeah, just based on subject line, that's not good enough for my targeting. I'll go with someone else. So, we kind of said, it's great, it's a pipe dream. We'll stick with Mailvelope. We'll stick with the other people doing in-browser PGP and hope it gets better because it's pretty rough around the edges. Google has, and they haven't, this is pre-release, they have not actually released an end-user product. They have released code. They have released an open-source project called end-to-end. What this is JavaScript-based PGP, JavaScript-based end-to-end encryption. It's using open standards. It's not anything weird. It is straight-up open PGP. Really cool stuff, and it works the exact same way as we described before. You create some keys, your buddy creates some keys, you can even import your own keys that you've created on your own system, and your browser stores it encrypted in local storage, pulls it into memory, and it's unencrypted memory. We'll get to some of the security pitfalls you have to work against. But it pulls it into memory, encrypts your messages, and then sends them through Gmail servers. And they can't scan it. The NSA can't scan it. Anyone you don't send it to, hackers in the middle, can't read the body of that email. So really cool stuff. No one thought Google was going to do it, but they're really, really getting serious about security.
Well, once the Snowden leaks came out, Google eventually said, we really actually do care about our user security, but they do have a subscriber responsibility. I mean, they are a publicly traded company to generate revenue. If you told your shareholders, you know what, we'd rather be a little more secure and lose money, they're going to revolt. So anytime you hear anything that has to do with ads, it's very hard to think that Chrome or Gmail or any of the Google properties would do it because it violates that. But it sounds like they want to keep their users' trust that they're not selling their information out. So it makes sense. Well, what they did first is they encrypted from data center to data center. So if I write Tom a message, it's safe, I think, in there, as long as it's within Gmail. As soon as it leaves, that's it. But as long as it stays within Google, I think, Tom, correct me, that it is encrypted from end to end. Or not end-to-end,
Yes.
pipe to pipe.
Right. It is encrypted from data center to data center inside of Google's network. Once it leaves Google's network, it's free game. But on the hard drives the email is actually stored on inside of Google, it's encrypted. And on the pipes leading from Google server to Google server, those pipes are encrypted too. Once
And I
it
think most of the
leaves,
others are, yeah, once it leaves, we're not sure.
right. And even if it stays on Google servers in encrypted fashion, right? This is where Google manages the encryption. This is not using PGP. Um, they could have a government agency come in with a warrant or a national security letter and say, hey, that Tom guy, give me all of his email. We demand it. And they hold up their warrant. And Google goes, we have to comply. It's a government thing. We have to do it because we have to operate under the laws of the country that we're living in. So that's still a hole. That could still it could still be compromised in that fashion.
I mean, there's still the idea of secure. Oh, is it secure SMTP? Was that or secure IMAP?
Right.
Where we've had the security to encrypt and decrypt through the pipe. The problem is not many email servers, definitely not the cable companies and the telcos. They're the last to do anything with updating their email clients. But Google's Google said, you know what? We're controlling so much, we might as well do it. It's going to
Yeah,
benefit our users.
it's definitely the right thing for users. It's the right thing for security. And really, when you think about it, it's the right thing for the stockholders, too, to enable that level of encryption. To make people feel safer using Gmail, it's going to bring more people onto Gmail. It's going to keep more people on Gmail. And it's going to keep eyeballs inside of Gmail where they can see ads. So really, it's good for everyone. It's good for everyone except for hackers targeting your email.
Well,
Um,
I mean, remember, Google has your trust. If they lose your trust, you are not going to use them.
yeah.
And I mean, this is evidenced by, if you haven't heard of a company, DuckDuckGo, they're a search engine that claims to not store any of your information. It is a anonymous search, and they don't tell you exactly how it works, which search engines they use. But apparently, it got big enough for Apple to say in iOS 8, they announced this at WWDC, that we're using DuckDuckGo as a default search engine. And it just goes to show that people like companies are starting to realize that security is important. People don't want to have to change their passwords. People don't want to feel that their information is being sold or they have to worry about what they're putting gets public. And Gmail's saying, hey, look, we're encrypting this. Whatever that means to you, we're encrypting this. And just to have this little extra stuff for the people who want it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and there's two pieces to that. There's one, you know, making sure that you've got all the security measures in place. You've got all the boxes checked. Yes, we encrypt it all. But number two is probably more important, which is you got to actually do it. You can't just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. So, PayPal, for instance, and we have to do a little public shaming. And I didn't pre-announce this except on Twitter earlier today. I have to publicly shame another company. I went to change my PayPal password today, just because, and I needed to change my security questions because I probably needed to put those into LastPass. So I went to change my password on PayPal today, and they have an upper limit of 20 characters. And then on the other hand, they talk all the time about how much they love security, and they take security seriously, and they're there to keep you safe. And the reality is, I don't think the person who made that password page actually takes security very seriously. I don't understand why they have a password limit. I mean, technically, they shouldn't have a password limit at all. But if you have to make one, make it something ridiculous. Make it 100 characters. Make it 200 characters. No one cares. Just put a lower bound on it and be done with it. But, goes to show you that some people will say, hey, we're really, really, really secure, and then not be. people, there are tons of companies that do this, that claim to have security, that don't. So look out most mobile antiviruses, which we've talked about. I'll lump 1Password in there because they make enough security gaffes that I don't consider them truly secure. It's not bad, but I don't think they're truly secure. WhatsApp is a big one. They're not secure at all. But beyond that, we've digressed. Google's end-to-end encryption is secure. It's legitimate security. It's legitimate security so much so that you actually can't get this on the Chrome Web Store yet. It's a Chrome extension, and you can't install it from the web store yet. Instead, Google has made this open source project. They said, here's our code, audit it, bash on it. If you want to, developers, you can build it, but please do not put this in the web store. It's not ready, and it could have real-world implications. It says so right here. If there's an issue with this program, people could die. If there's someone, a reporter or a source feeding information to a reporter about some horrible government corruption, and this software has a security hole in it, and it was used prematurely, that person could go to prison, or they could be executed, or insert horrible scenario here. But Google has opened up the source code. We can look at it, we can bash on it, with the understanding that we probably shouldn't trust our lives to this application because it's just not proven yet.
Well, I was going to say, this was a rumor months ago. I mean, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, and people were saying, does Gmail really make that much money from ads on Gmail specifically? Remember, when you signed the privacy policy, all those Google entities across, Google tracks you across all the different properties and uses that to build a profile. It's an anonymous profile, but it's a profile that they can send you ads. If we were to take Gmail out, would it be that big of a deal? And a lot of people said, I don't think so. I don't think they make that much money from people clicking the ads, and it probably helps them more to encrypt and to make people safer in that respect.
And it very well could. I mean, we wouldn't know unless we looked at Google financials, and we looked really closely at them. But it could. It could bring people here. I know I'm going to feel better about using Gmail in general because of this commitment to true security, to true trust no one security. Now, keep in mind, listeners, this isn't something that's going to be turned on in Gmail. This isn't something you go to your settings and say, I want end-to-end encryption. It's not going to work that way. It's going to work pretty similar to Mailvelope does today. You need to create a key. You need to have the person you're sending email to, they need to have a key, and then you can send encrypted email, with end-to-end encryption, which is where the name comes from. And it's really good. Now, there are certain issues that are being looked into. There are certain compatibility things that don't work quite as expected that are going to be fixed before this is released. One of the issues that actually was reported and then discussed on Hacker News, which is a big website where people submit news stories, and mostly developers and techies will comment on it. It tends to be a pretty smart place. One of the bugs reported was, what if a government entity gives Google a national security letter, gives them a secret warrant saying, hey, you have to compromise the end-to-end extension so we can, break this encryption to get so-and-so's email. They did have to close the bug because there's no way for them to stop that, but they said, we understand and we're trying to figure out a way against that, a way to combat that. So that's a big security hole. We have to still trust Google and trust that they'll do the right thing. If you're going to rely on PGP for your life, if you're going to rely on encryption to store government secrets or what have you, that you're really afraid of state actors getting into your email, please run Linux, run GPG on your computer, do the encryption yourself before it even hits the internet. If you want an easy way to use this encryption, by all means, install end-to-end when it comes out. And I'm sure we'll make an announcement when it hits the internet. But right now, security professionals, are still bashing on it. And inside of Hacker News, in this Hacker News thread, which we will link in the show notes, one of the developers of end-to-end actually stopped in and answered some questions. Seems like a really smart team put this together. They did really, really great thing, answered some really technical questions, and it looks like they did the right thing. As a matter of fact, Google is so committed to this, they have a program called Bug Bounty. What it is if you find a security hole, a security bug in any Google product, you email them, it gets confirmed, you give them a bug report, work with them before disclosing it to the public, and they will pay you if it's a legitimate security concern. They have actually...
Wait a second. Hold on. Let's go back to IO12. Let's go back to IO12. When I said that there was an issue in Google Music and Google Drive, and they fixed it, and I didn't get a dime. So the story goes really quick. If you sign out of everything in Gmail, Google everything, but you're signed into Google Drive on the top of your taskbar or on your menu bar, it will re-sign you in across the board. They since got rid of that, but I had to tell them that. And they looked at me and said, well, we want to make it easy. And I had to tell the Drive guy, okay, but a simple web pop-up that says, hey, we checked your cookies, you're not in, please provide your password, is not that hard.
You see, and that's one of the things that most people don't understand. You can't, and most people wouldn't have this opportunity, right? Most people wouldn't be able to go up to the Google Drive guy and say, hey, there's a security hole here. You actually have to initiate a formal process of emailing the Google security team and getting it taken care of that way. I've participated in some of these bug bounties, and have actually got some things fixed for some big companies. But they have actually rewritten their policy for the bug bounty program, and they have extended it to cover end-to-end. So the code's out there. You can compile it. If you're an enterprising hacker, if you are someone who's interested in security code, if you're a guy who's really good at breaking stuff that Google makes, by all means, download this, try to find some holes, try to break into it through a side channel attack, and get some money. The point is, Google will be paying people to make this better. They will be paying people to find the issues so they can fix them. From everything I see, Google is truly committed to PGP encryption inside of Gmail. Will this ever be a thing in Gmail proper? I don't think so. It's a very niche product. It's a Gmail extension. People are going to have to search this out and enable it. But it's the biggest step in the right direction I've ever seen from a company of Google's size, ever.
Well,
by far.
What they're saying is, here, it's there for you to the taking, but we're not really going to come out. We'll publicize this, but we're not going to really come out and enable it for everybody. Because remember, they are an advertising company. And to say, Tom, what time do you want a podcast tonight? I'm not necessarily going to encrypt that. So they do want that. They do want as much as you can get. Basically, they're giving you the tool to use, and they want you to use it. Now, it's a Chrome extension. I don't think do we see it in Firefox? Do we see it in IE? Do we see it on Safari? Do we see it anywhere else other than the Chrome Web Store?
Well, here's the cool thing. It is 100% open source. I mean, I'm looking at the source code right now. I just checked it out onto my computer. It looks nicely packaged. I haven't dug into too many of the specific libraries, but if you wanted to, you could theoretically take this code and go re-implement it for Firefox and make a Firefox extension and make an Opera add-on and make an IE plugin, and you could port it to all kinds of different browsers. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could make this part of some web app somewhere if you really wanted to. It's just JavaScript and HTML. It's really easy stuff. Um, but yeah, this could be ported. Now, it's probably not going to be quickly ported. I mean, they're still working out all the kinks, but once it is, this could be the de facto crypto library for PGP on the web.
And you would have to. The other thing is to do is you would have to trust the Firefox extension.
Yes.
Because again, I'm sure Google will put this out as a Google proper app, not an extension, the web store developed by Google, but Firefox and the others are going to be who's going to do it first. If Symantec puts it out, or McAfee, or Norton, or the big security firm, Sophos, or wherever, maybe you trust them, but you would have to trust the developer on that side.
Yes, and one thing that I think should be said before we get emails about it, PGP in JavaScript in an extension has been done before. It's been done before a lot. Has it been easy enough for the layman to use? I don't think it's really gotten there yet. From what I've seen, end-to-end isn't really going to be super, super easy for the layman to use. It's a step in the right direction, but we've got a long way to go. And there have been things like, OpenPGP.js and other open source, open crypto JavaScript libraries that have tried to do this exact same thing. But they just haven't gotten there for various reasons. Either it was hard to work with for the developers, or didn't provide a good user experience, or it was just buggy. They haven't been great. This doesn't look perfect, but it looks better. I don't see any reason why this can't be cleaned up enough to actually become a real product for real people one day.
As long as I wonder if there will be some, and this is just a feature request at this point, to do the initial check in your address book, send everyone an email that has this extension installed or generally uses Gmail, to be like, hey, let's do the public key switching automatically. Or you send someone an email, and if it's not encrypted, the first thing you do is, this person's sending you an encrypted message, would you like to send your public key? And then, I don't know, make it work that way. Because one of the things they did say is that it's going to be easier than it currently is. And they went through the problems with PGP and how hard it is to implement. And they didn't lie. It's not easy. It's not like, I'll get it up and running in 5 minutes. You need, it takes 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. And then to explain it to your lawyer, to somebody else. Edward Snowden took a while with Glenn Greenwald to really make it work. It was not a simple process. And hopefully this makes it simple. Would you use it like for state secrets? Like we said, no. But if you want to be a little more discreet and you want to send some private messages between some friends and some people, then go for it.
Or even if you're just, for some reason, if you're just sending emails to your grandmother about, about the cookie recipe that she had. Now, it might be a family secret, but I don't know if it's that secret. About the cookie recipe, if you create a PGP message, that's just one more thing the NSA has to put in their data center. It's just one more thing they have to waste CPU cycles trying to decrypt. We should do everything in our power to make their jobs as difficult as possible to decrypt American secrets, to spy on citizens, and we should make the web very, very expensive to attack.
You're right. Like we said, if you're only sending encrypted messages that need to be secret, then we know where to attack. If you send every once in a while more messages, it makes more people work harder.
There's actually a big part of a Cory Doctorow book where encrypted traffic was being sniffed, but they took like a popular music streaming program or file sharing program or something that generated a lot of traffic, something legal, and they just defaulted all the connections to secure, so now they didn't know what traffic to attack or what traffic to try to decrypt because it was all encrypted. Even the stupid little things that shouldn't be encrypted were. And it was a pretty big win in the book. I think the book was Little Brother. It's actually pretty good.
So anyway, we got 20 seconds left, so we're gonna end. And here we thought we didn't have enough content for today.
I know.
So anyway, everyone, we'll see you next week. Have a good rest of your week.
See you, everyone.
Bye.